today I'm going to be showing you how I edit some of my wildlife photos. So yesterday I was out in the garden taking some pictures of a swarm of bees outside their hive. So today I'm going to import those photos into Adobe Lightroom and then edit them and show you my entire workflow in Adobe Lightroom. So you ready? Let's get started. Alright, so we are now inside Adobe Lightroom Classic and I'm going to start by importing the photos from my SD card. So I'm going to click on this import button down the bottom here and this will open up the import dialog. Now on the left hand side here I'm going to find my SD card, which is EOS Digital, so I just click on that and if we give it a second it will load all of the photos which I took yesterday. Okay, so all of the photos on my SD card have now loaded. Up the top here what you'll see is actually I have some videos. You may recognize these clips from previous YouTube videos that I have done. Up the top here you'll notice that I have new photos selected, so it's only showing me the photos which I don't already have in my Lightroom catalogue. So as I said, these are videos, we're not going to be importing them today, and here we have all of my bee shots that I took yesterday. Now there's actually a lot of them here. You can see down here it says 392 photos. So I took a lot of photos yesterday trying just to get one or two good ones. It was quite a tricky situation, so I took lots of photos to ensure that I get a good one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to uncheck all of the photos. Then I'm just going to select this first photo here just by clicking on it. Then I will scroll all the way to the bottom and I'm just going to use the shift key on my keyboard and click on that last photo. I did also just take a few pictures of a beautiful flower after I finished the bee photo, so I'm going to import them as well. To select all the photos for import, we just need to click this checkbox in the top right corner of one of the photos, and because we've selected all of them, the checkbox will be ticked in all of the selected photos. So I'm now going to come to the right side over here, and the only thing I'm going to change here is the name of the subfolder which I am putting the photos into. So I always name my subfolders by the date that the photos were taken, and I put that date in reverse order, so the year, the month, and then the day. Then I will give some kind of reference as to where I took the photos or what the photos are of, so that I can easily find those photos later on. So I'm just going to call this Garden Bees. That will help me to remember that these are pictures of bees that I took in my garden. If I just scroll down here, you can see this is where they're going to be saved. They're going to be saved on my hard drive inside the folder 2023, and there is the new folder that we are creating. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to hit the import button. Now this will take a few minutes just to import because there is a lot of photos, and you'll see I've got a couple of progress bars happening up here. One is importing the photos and the other is building previews. So think of them as like thumbnails so that you can quickly view the photo once they have been imported. Alright, so all of the photos have now been imported and it is just building the last few previews. So we can start actually going through these photos and working out which ones are worth editing. Now I've got a lot of photos here to go through, so I'm just going to go through them really quickly just using my arrow keys here. Now when I find a photo I like, I am actually going to give it a star rating. I'm just quickly going through all of these because I don't like that drain pipe in the background. So this is the first series of photos that I took. I then changed my position to get rid of that drain pipe. So this is where I'm actually going to start looking clearly at the photos, and when I find one that I like, I will give it a star rating. So I'm just going to zoom in on some of these photos and check the sharpness. Not really happy with that one. That one's not very interesting either. So just going through, looking for something that I think is interesting. So this one, maybe if that bee is sharp, but not quite. Maybe this one here, again, not quite sharp enough. So it took me a while to get a shot that I was happy with when I was taking these photos. So there is a lot of photos here, most of which I am not completely happy with. I do quite like this one though, so I'm going to give that a star rating. So I'm just going to keep going through these photos and checking for the sharpness, finding the ones that I like and giving them a star rating. Alright, so I've finished going through all the photos now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to select the rated ones, just using this drop down thing here, and just select rated. So now you can see I've got 20 photos here. If I just go into the grid view, can clearly see just the 20 photos out of that 376 photos. I've chosen 20 that I think are worth editing. So let's move into the develop mode and let's start doing some editing. So I'm actually just going to close off this panel on the left here and the top panel, just so we can see the picture a little bit bigger. Then on the right hand side here we have all of our editing tools. So with this photo, I'm just going to start by increasing the exposure just a little bit because it was a little bit dark. Next, I'm just going to add a little bit of contrast and a little bit of dehaze just to make these bees stand out just a little bit more. I'm also going to have a play with the white balance. So just taking this eyedropper tool here and just clicking on the background, which was sort of an off-white. So actually that didn't do very much. So I'm just going to change this temperature slider and just bring it a little bit more to the right so that we can start to get the correct colors back in there, so that the wood is looking a little bit more like wood and not got a very blue tone to it. Next, I think I might actually crop this photo a little bit. I think we've got too much of the wood here and not enough of the bees. So I'm just going to open the crop tool. I'm going to keep it locked to the original ratio, and I'm just going to drag this corner in, so maybe something about there, just dragging this square around until I've got it somewhere that I am happy, and then double click to save that. So that is that first photo edited. Now if you look down at the thumbnail strip here, I have 4 photos. The first 4 photos were all taken in those same conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press shift and click on that 4th photo to select all 4 photos. Then I'll click on this sync button over here and I can synchronize the other 3 photos to the settings that I have just used. So I'm just going to leave all of that ticked because I want to sync everything, but if I didn't want to sync everything, I could untick some things here and just hit synchronize. So now you will see these photos are all synchronized to the same thing. Now I'm not sure if that crop really was the best crop. So for this one, actually, I do prefer it being on the original crop. So I'm just going to check each of these. I'm just going to check the crop. And yeah, I think cropping them all to the same ratio maybe it wasn't the best thing. So I'm just going to reset that crop each time. Okay, so that's the first 4 photos edited. Let's move on to the next set of photos. So these photos were all a little bit more close in to where the bees were actually going into their hive. So again, I'm just going to increase the brightness a little bit on this photo just to bring that out. Now the white balance is pretty good, but I will just check. This is a white rule. If I do that, it makes it look a little bit green. I actually don't like that, so I'm just going to go Control Z on my keyboard and just undo that. Again, add a little bit of contrast and a little bit of dehaze just to enhance those photos. And again, I'm just going to crop in on this to emphasize the bees a little bit more. I've got a bit too much going on around there, so something like that is a good crop, I think. Alright, so again, let's just select all the photos that were taken in that same area and just synchronize those as well. Okay, and again, I'm just going to quickly go through all of these and make sure that they are all looking good, the crop is looking good and everything. I may just want to move that crop, like on this one, I just want to move that crop down a little bit to center those bees a bit more. So, about there. Okay, and double click and to the next photo. Have a look at that crop. And again, just move that down. And let's go to the next photo. That one is pretty good. So when you're cropping, you always want to have a look around the edge of your photo as well, and just make sure that you're giving space to any of the objects or subjects that are around the edge of the photo. Okay, so that's all of the bee photos edited. Let's just quickly edit this flower photo as well. So I'm actually just going to bring the shadows down on this. I want to make that background a little bit darker. And again, a bit of dehaze and a bit of contrast, just to really sort of make that background darker and really make that flower pop a little bit. I might even just add a little bit of black in there again to really bring that flower out from the background. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do with that photo there. Now the final thing I'm going to do to all of these photos is I'm going just to go back to the first photo here, and I'm going to go down to the denoise tools here. So we've actually now got an automatic denoise tool. So I'm just going to let Lightroom do that for me, and let's see how that works. This is my first time using this new tool, so I'm a little bit excited just to see what happens with this. Okay, so that is just loading a preview of the denoise for us. So that's just going to take, it says an estimated of 2 minutes. Now we can see that, we can of course move that around to see different parts of the photo. So I can zoom in actually on one of the bees that are in focus and see how that has reduced the noise. Now that's done a pretty impressive job. You can see how noisy it was before, and that is now the enhanced version. So I'm really quite happy with that. Of course, if you're not happy, there is a slider here so you can increase or decrease the amount of noise. So let's just have a quick play with that, maybe just increase it a little bit, and that reduces that noise in the background even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click enhance, and that will now do that for that photo. Okay, so if I do have a series of photos that I want to denoise all of them to the same degree, I can select all of them and then click on this denoise tool. And as you can see now, that enhance button is enhancing 15 images. So again, we'll just give that a second to load. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to hit the enhance 15 images, and that's going to take about 30 minutes to do that. So what I can do now is I can actually add some keywords to these photos. So we're just going to select the rated photos again, And I'm just going to go for these first 4 here, and if we just scroll down to keywording here, I'm going to start by just adding in some keywords. So first of all, this was taken in my garden, so I'm just going to type in the word garden and hit enter. And because I've selected all 4, it's going to add the keyword to all 4 photos. I'm also going to put the word bee in because obviously these are pictures of bees. They are insects. These are macro shots. Wildlife. Then also these are Australia, Queensland. And I think that's it for now, but that is what I do after I've edited my photos. I always come and give them some keywords. This helps me to find the photos later on. Alright, so that was my workflow process in Adobe Lightroom, how I import and edit my photos. I hope that you have found this video useful. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel to get more free tips and tricks to improve your photography. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.